Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going under the hood. Deep inside the largest thinking machines out there, the frontier AI model.
That's right. We're looking at the secret library, or maybe the notepad they used to think.
Exactly. And our mission today is pretty critical. We need to figure out how we can make these incredible systems smarter, more powerful, but without them getting too big, too slow, or, using a crazy amount of energy.
Which is where this new idea comes in. It's called the Residual Matrix Transformer, or RMT for short.
RMT. Okay, so to get why that's so important, we should probably talk about how we got here. For years, the rule's been pretty simple, right? Bigger is better.
Bigger is better. You just scale everything up. The model size, the amount of data you feed it, the computer budget, and you get better AI. The scaling laws have been incredibly effective.
But that can't go on forever. We're starting to hear from a lot of researchers that we're hitting some very real walls.
We are. We're running out of high-quality text data on the internet. And the energy cost, the sheer amount of electricity needed to train these things, is becoming, well, astronomical.
So that whole brute force approach, just making things bigger, is becoming unsustainable. We need something smarter.
We need a real architectural shift, something genuinely more efficient.
Okay, so let's start there. With the standard architecture, the transformer, at its heart is this internal communication channel. It's short-term memory. It's called the residual stream. Can you paint a picture of that for us? What's it doing?
Absolutely. Think of the residual stream as like the central nervous system of the AI, or maybe a shared workbench.
A workbench. I like it.
Yeah, or a conveyor belt that runs through the whole factory.
Yeah.
Every single layer of the AI's thinking process puts its work onto this belt and then pulls what it needs off the belt for the next step.
So if the AI is reading a long story, the meaning of the very first sentence has to stay on that belt so that the final layer of thinking can still see it and use it.
Precisely. And the width of that belt, its dimension, that determines how many different ideas or features the AI can keep track of at any one moment. That's its memory bandwidth.
So a wider belt means more memory, more room for complex thoughts. So in a standard transformer, what happens when you just try to make the belt wider?
And that is the core problem. It's the bottleneck.
Yeah.
In a standard transformer, the memory bandwidth is it's totally coupled to the machine's overall size.
So coupled.
Meaning, if you want that memory stream to hold more information, you have to resize everything.
Yeah.
All the internal machinery, the parameter matrices that read and write from the stream, they all have to get bigger too.
So you can't just widen the conveyor belt. You have to rebuild the entire factory around it.
That's a perfect way to put it, and the data really bears this out. If you double the size of that residual stream, say you want 100% more memory, you get almost a 100% increase in the total size of the model.
Wow.
And about a 94% increase in the FLOPS, which is just the raw energy you're burning. It scales linearly. It's a painful trade-off.
That feels like a fundamental barrier. You can't give the AI a better memory without blowing up your entire budget. And if we're running out of data and energy, this becomes the thing that stops progress.
It absolutely is,
Yeah.
which brings us back to the engineering challenge. How do you break that link? How do you give the AI a much bigger notepad without building a heavier, more expensive machine?
And the answer is the residual matrix transformer.
The answer is RMT. It totally redesigns that internal data structure.
Okay, let's get into this. So RMT changes how the computer stores information. It throws out that long single file line of notes, that vector.
Right, the vector representation.
And it replaces it with something called an outer product memory matrix. That sounds complicated.
It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually quite elegant. It's the real innovation here. Instead of just a single long list for storage, RMT uses a structured two-dimensional grid, a matrix.
Okay, a grid. So instead of a long scroll of paper, it's more like a binder full of index cards.
That's a great analogy. With the long scroll, if you want to add more notes, the whole scroll has to get longer. And every part of the machine has to deal with this massive, unwieldy thing.
Right.
But with the matrix, the binder of index cards, you can just add way more cards into the system without changing the size of the binder itself. The RMT uses small indexing vectors to pull out the specific card or data vector that it needs from this much larger storage grid.
I see. So the core machinery doesn't have to get bigger just because the memory is expanding.
Exactly. And that structural change is what gives RMT its superpower. This is the central finding. The size of the memory, the residual stream, can be scaled independently from the model's overall size and its compute cost.
Independently. You're saying it's near zero cost scaling.
That's what the paper calls it. Let's look at the numbers. We said before, 100% bigger memory in a standard transformer costs you about 100% more model size
Yeah.
and 94% more compute.
Right. A one-to-one cost.
With the RMT, if you increase its memory size by that same 100%, you see a less than 1% increase in both model size and compute effort.
Less than 1%.
The coupling is broken. The memory is essentially free to scale.
That's a tectonic shift. I mean, theoretically, that's incredible, but did it actually work? How did it perform in real experiments?
It did. And the results are pretty comprehensive. The RMT is just dramatically more efficient across the board. Parameters, FLOPS, and data.
Okay, let's start with data efficiency. That's a huge one. With everyone worried about running out of text, how much data did it save?
So the researchers trained both models to get to the exact same performance level, a loss of 3.03. The RMT got there using 41% less data for the same result. That's a lifeline for companies hitting that data wall.
It's massive leverage.
Okay, what about energy? The compute, the FLOPS.
That's even more striking. To reach that same performance target, the RMT used 58% fewer FLOPS.
Whoa, okay, stop there. 58%. Can you put that in context for us?
Yeah.
A big training run costs millions of dollars, takes weeks. What does a 58% reduction actually mean in the real world? It means cutting your cloud compute bill in half. It means a training run that took a month now takes, 12 days? It's a massive reduction in cost, in carbon footprint, and it lets you iterate and experiment so much faster. It's the difference between sustainable AI growth and, well, what we have now.
That really puts it in perspective. So it's smaller, it's more data efficient, more energy efficient. What about the actual size of the machine, the parameter count?
Well, because of its structure, it replaces some big clunky matrices with smaller, more efficient vectors. It's just physically smaller. In the experiments, the 305 million parameter RMT actually achieved a lower training loss than a standard transformer that was 33% larger.
So a smaller machine beat a bigger one.
A 305 million parameter model beat a 405 million parameter model. Yeah.
Smaller, needs less data, uses less energy, and performs better. That feels like an efficiency trifecta.
It is. But the researchers also did something really clever to prove their main point. They took advantage of the RMT's unique design.
You're talking about that new scaling axis.
Exactly. For the first time, they could run an experiment that was literally impossible before. They kept the model size and the compute budget completely fixed. And they only scaled up the internal memory.
They isolated the memory variable just to see how much a bigger notepad helps.
Yeah.
So what happened? They cranked up the memory bandwidth, almost 6 times larger?
And what they found was the key validation for the whole idea. Model performance got better and better. As they increased the memory capacity, the loss just consistently went down.
A bigger memory pad really does help the machine learn better and faster.
It does. And even when you compare one RMT to another, the one with the huge memory stream reached the same performance goal using 23% fewer FLOPS and 25% fewer tokens than an RMT with the normal size memory.
So that free memory is fundamentally making the whole learning process more streamlined.
And what's really fascinating is that this isn't just some trick that works during training. This structural efficiency translates directly to better real-world performance.
So how does the RMT actually think when you give it a real problem?
It consistently outperformed that standard transformer, the one that was 33% larger, remember, on every single downstream test they threw at it. Better language understanding, higher accuracy on reasoning challenges like ARC and HellSwag.
So the smaller, cheaper, greener machine is actually better at solving hard problems. That's an incredible outcome.
It really suggests that giving an AI more room to think, more bandwidth for its internal conversation, is a critical ingredient for intelligence that we've basically been priced out of until now.
Okay, so to wrap this all up, the Residual Matrix Transformer uses this specialized matrix for memory. It's a game changer because it breaks that link between memory size and overall cost.
And the results are just undeniable. 58% more FLP efficient, 41% more data efficient. I mean, this isn't an incremental improvement. It's a paradigm shift.
Now, we have to be practical. There's always a catch. The source material mentioned one trade-off. Right now, RMT is about 4% slower in terms of, wall clock time during training.
Yeah, that's a crucial detail to mention. But it's almost certainly a temporary engineering problem, not a deep architectural flaw.
Why is that?
Well, the standard transformer is built on these operations called GMs, general matrix multiplications. Our entire hardware stack, our GPUs, have been optimized for decades, down to the silicon, to do that one thing incredibly fast.
And RMT uses something different.
Right. Its memory operations rely on something called tensor contractions. They're just different, and they haven't had that same kind of optimization effort yet. The researchers seem very confident that with some hardware-aware code, that runtime lag will disappear.
It's amazing. It really shows that sometimes the biggest leaps forward aren't about building a bigger skyscraper, but just, completely reorganizing the bookshelf inside.
That's it exactly. We may have been paying an unnecessarily high tax for memory all this time.
So let's end with this. What does this mean for the future? If RMTs, or something like them, become the new standard, if you drastically cut the energy and data needed to train a powerful AI, what happens next? What kind of thinking machines could we build?
Well, here's the provocative thought. If you lower that barrier to entry, the huge cost of data and compute by this much, you might just unleash a new wave of innovation that's been blocked. Could smaller labs, maybe even individuals, start training their own powerful models? Or maybe you use this efficiency not just to make things cheaper, but to build something truly enormous, a model that can process information in ways we can't even imagine right now. The basic economics of AI innovation could be about to fundamentally change.